All right, this is Patrick Rogers, and today we have the privilege to have Reza Mirza on the show. And Reza is the CEO of Icelandic. Welcome to the show, Reza.
Thank you, Patrick. Appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, fantastic. Great to have you. So Reza is the group CEO of Icelandic Glacial water. It's one of the leading and fastest growing imported water brands in the United States. Reza joined Icelandic Glacial in 2014 with nearly 20 years of consumer product experience, last as president of Activate Drinks, and from several management positions at Nestle Waters North America. I know we've all heard of Nestle Water, where he managed a portfolio of brands with over $1 billion in sales. Prior to Nestle, he had numerous marketing positions with Colgate-Palmolive, New York City, and at Bosch in his native India, helping to launch Blaupunkt car audio. I'm sure everybody's heard of that into the Indian market. Reza has a master's in international business from Columbia University in New York City and an MBA from the International Management Institute in India and a bachelor's in biochemistry from the University of Madras in India. So very well educated, ton of experience. Can't wait for the rest of the show, Reza. Before we dive into, who you are and your journey and Icelandic, what's one interesting fact about you that not many people know?
Well, everyone assumes that because I am from India, I like spicy food. I cannot eat spicy food. So that's an interesting fact that spicy food and we just don't get along.
Just doesn't work well.
It doesn't work well at all.
So what happens? I know for me, like when I have spicy food, I just like my head starts sweating. I love it though. The thing is I love it when I start sweating. My head gets hot.
How's it the same? I have a yogurt. If someone gives me very spicy food and I've got a bowl of yogurt or I'm sweating away, I don't do very well with spicy food.
Gotcha. Cool, man. Well, so hey, so tell us about Icelandic.
So Icelandic Glacial was actually started by Jon and Christian Olafsson in Iceland. Jon and Christian are from Iceland. As you know, I'm not from Iceland, so I get that question a lot.
You don't say.
Yeah, I get that question a lot. Are you from Iceland? I was like, no. I started the company in 2014, and it's been an amazing journey. We have built it to one of the like how you mentioned, we are one of the fastest growing imports in America. We are now in 29 countries, and we have a long way to go, but it's so exciting to see the water available in over 55,000 doors across the country. For those who don't know about Icelandic Glacial, it is from a spring in Iceland. It's one of the biggest springs in Iceland. It's naturally alkaline. Jon and Christian started the company from day one as 100% sustainability. It's all about sustainability. It is a carbon neutral company way before sustainability became
carbon neutral was a thing.
Buzzword. So and like I said, when I met Jon and the Christian, I knew the brand. The packaging is incredible for those who haven't seen it. And the water. At the end of the day, you can have lightning in the bottle. If it does not taste good, it will not.
Right.
And so it is an exciting time to be at Icelandic.
Yeah, very cool. So what led you to become the CEO of the business?
Well, with my journey, like I came here to school, I studied here, worked at Colgate-Palmolive, worked at Nestle. I worked with Michael Eisner, the ex-CEO of the Walt Disney Company, at Activate Drinks. And the one thing which I strongly believe in is that there are very few times in your life you get opportunities to build a global company on a brand you're passionate about, a company you believe in, and that opportunity does not come very often. So when Jon and Christian brought this opportunity to me, I was like, I am on, I believe in this. I believe we can make something amazing because it has all the ingredients. It has an iconic packaging.
Yeah,
The bottle is beautiful.
it
And
is.
it is such a fantastic product that I was like, I believe in this. And so that's why I accepted the role.
Yeah, yeah, very cool. And we just talked just real briefly about it, but how has it gone since you took over?
Let's put it this way. We have grown about 10 times in the last 9 years.
Wow.
And it's about, one of the things that we built it is sustainable growth. We have grown double digits nearly every year.
Mm,
Even in COVID, when COVID hit, I lost a big part of the business in the hotels, restaurants, airports,
right.
but we still showed growth even in 2020.
Mm.
So it has been a journey. I would love to say it was a straight upward line,
Yeah,
but
yeah, it
it's
never is.
been like this. It's never
Yeah,
that. It's
yeah,
been, we've had our highs, lows, but overall, it's so fulfilling to see that our team doing well, the brand is doing very well,
mm,
and we are growing year on year. That is so exciting. That's when you go to bed.
yeah.
When you go to bed in the night,
Uh-huh.
you are like, is every metric moving in the right direction?
Yeah.
And if the answer is yes, you are doing something right.
Yeah, fantastic. So you guys made some real headway in the space, right? Didn't you say you were like what position were you when you took over, and what position are you now in the water industry?
We were about in the premium still imports. We were about number 8 in 2014.
Uh-huh.
Now we are number 3
Wow, that's fantastic, man.
in
And
retail.
so I
Yeah,
think
in retail.
so
I'm
so
that data. Yeah.
yeah, so from number 8, so they recognized, the founders recognized that they needed to bring in a professional CEO to scale their business. They found you. They were number 8 in 2014. You guys are number 3, and I think you said there's a long way to go. There's a pretty good sized gap between yourself and is it Avion or
Yeah,
Avion?
Evian and
Uh-huh.
Fiji. Yeah.
Avion and Fiji are kind of the next runners up. Okay,
Yeah.
so when do you think you'll catch up, man?
Um, I would never say we will catch up at some point.
There it
It will
is.
take us some time. It will take us some time, but
Okay, all right.
but when it will take us a couple of years because the
Okay.
gap is large, but we will catch up.
Awesome, man.
If
So,
not exceed. If not exceed.
okay, if not an exit in the meantime.
No, I said if not exceeding.
Oh, if not exceeding. Oh, I'm sure
Yeah.
you are. Of course, yeah, yeah. I mean, you've made such amazing gains in the industry, going from number 8 to number 3 in such a short period of time, that you have momentum. You have
Yeah.
momentum where a lot of the big guys, hopefully, I mean, they're not even going to see you coming. So,
Oh, they will
position
see us.
yourself.
We all are looking at the same Nielsen,
Oh,
IRI.
okay, there, yeah.
Everyone is looking at it. Everyone is analyzing the same data. We get the
Uh-huh.
same information. But like I said, it is exciting. We are playing with the big boys and we are growing.
Yeah.
And like I tell the team, it is not a sprint. It's a
No.
marathon.
Marathon.
We
Yeah.
take a long view. For us, it's, are we building a great and successful company? It's like the 1, 2s, and 3s is great. It's like a scorecard, which you are seeing how you're progressing. But
Sure.
the key part is are we moving the business in the right direction? And as long as we are doing that year on year, month by month, day by day, we will get to it. We will get, like I said, we are in 29 countries now. We have a long runway to go, but it's about moving ahead, moving forward.
Yeah. No, I love it, man. So take us through some of your experience and your journey. What's been really critical for you, or what are some of the key attributes to how you've been able to take the company from number 8 to number 3 in this time period?
Number one, I would say number 1, number 2, and number 3 all is the team.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
The one thing which we are very proud of is the team that we have built.
Yeah,
And the reason, the core secret sauce is our team. We have a great brand, we have a good product, but the
sure.
question, but you cannot, if anyone says the word I and they have done it,
Uh,
they
uh,
are smoking something, because it's all about the team that you built. Hiring the right people, battle tested, the team which has that sparkle in the eye, which I always talk about, the team which is resilient, that is our secret
mm,
sauce. Like I said, we are playing with the big boys who have large sales teams, a lot of marketing budgets.
yeah,
We have to be nimble, we have to be fast, and we take our punches, we fall, we get up, we dust ourselves up, and we go. But it's all about the team. I'm
yeah.
very proud of the team that we have built. Working with Jan and Christian has also been amazing,
Yeah.
working with founders, their passion. And it's all about having creating the culture in the company that lets people thrive and allow them to do what they are hired to do.
Yeah.
So that is our secret sauce. And that's where my key learning is basically my number one role is to make the right hiring decisions. And
Mm,
once you hire them, ensure that they have a culture which allows them to thrive and allows them to do what they were hired to do.
right,
And
right, right. Yeah.
that is our culture. Every company has their own culture. Our culture is very entrepreneurial, very little ego. Everyone just wants to get the job done, and we have fun while we're doing it. And we just build something that we are very passionate about. So it is,
Yeah.
I would love to say it's all, the violins are playing and it's all great, but like I said, it's been a roller coaster. But when you are on that roller coaster with people you enjoy working with, it's a
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic, man. So, walk me through, what did you do? So it sounds like what you're saying is, hey, my number one role is making the right hiring decisions. And then once they're here, creating that culture of that low ego and that fun culture. So breaking it down, what did you do specifically? Like, what are some of the things that you look for when you look for hires, or strategic things that you did to get the team that you currently have?
So it all starts with just stepping back, is first laying out a longer term strategy. What is it you want to be?
Mm,
What is it you want
mhm.
to be when you grow up? What's the strategy of the company?
Yeah.
And so once you align on, and we have a lot of discussion, and you laid out the strategic path of the company, that to be successful in the bottled water business, it is distribution, innovation, marketing,
Mm,
execution.
yeah.
These are the four pillars to be successful. Now,
Right.
having said that, this is my playbook. It's every company has their own playbook to grow. Every company has their own playbook that they
Right.
follow.
Right.
So once we laid out, this is the plan, and we were aligned with the board and the management, this is the plan, then you start staffing and
Mm,
start hiring the right people to fulfill the roles based on that strategy. Like, for
mm,
example, I'm a big fan of soccer. You can't
yeah.
expect the goalkeeper to be the striker. Okay.
No, that's
Yeah.
not gonna work.
Exactly. So then it's really looking at, okay, what are the skill sets based on the strategic plan that we have laid out? What kind of people do we need to hire? And also what kind of a culture that we have to create. So
Right.
once we align all that, then it's all about ensuring that the people you hire have that skill sets.
Mhm, mhm.
You will figure it out, based on the background. But
Sure.
then, do they have the sparkle in the eye? And do they have that resilience And that's what we try to figure out when we hire people is, yes, they can do the job, they have the background, they have an experience, but working for a large company is a very different skill set, whereas working for a fast growing company, you're growing at 100 miles an hour.
Right.
So, do they have that perseverance, the mentality to say it's never going to be ideal? It's never going to be, this is not a 9 to 5 job. So do you have that in your stomach?
Yeah. So going from a big company where it's real easy to kind of just be complacent or just kind of, blend in, it sounds like, on paper, someone could look really good. But you said this a couple things. You even said it in our pre-thing, this concept of I'm looking for that sparkle in their eye. And I love that because it sounds like you're just looking for do they have a passion around what we're doing?
Yeah. Because, the one thing I've learned in my career is you can train people on a job.
Yeah.
You cannot get passion. If they're not passionate about it,
sure,
it is a job.
It's a job. Yeah.
And in anything you do, big company, small company, my number one learning is if you don't enjoy what you do, and keep in mind, when I say enjoying, it is not every day the sun is shining and it's all rah, rah, rah. You're gonna have your ups, you're gonna have your downs, etc.
It's a roller coaster. Absolutely.
It is a roller coaster, but overall, net, do you love what you do? And it can be with a big company, small company. I learned a lot. Some of the best friends I have people I work with at Colgate, at Nestle, etc. But then when you come to a small company, it's a different mindset. Because now, for example, I will just give you an example is when I was managing my portfolio of brands at Nestle, I used to call my Nielsen person in the company. I should get all my charts, my data, everything analyzed. I look at it, we make decision. Now, when I came here, you have to do it all yourself. When you have a big marketing budget, you call up the agencies and they all come running and you get a call back from the president in 5 minutes. When you're a small company, it's like, can you hear me now? Because you've got smaller budgets. It forces, with a big company, the goals are very different from that of a small company. In a smaller company with limited budgets, you really have to think about what is the goal. You don't have the luxury to throw everything against the wall hoping something will stick. So you really have to be so laser-like focused and learn how to stretch the buck,
Yeah. What I thought was interesting. So some of the things that you actually look for when you're looking for people is you actually ask them questions around kind of the relationships with their family and even sports that they've played. Tell me more about that.
See, every resume I have taken a look at, everyone has grown sales by 50, 100%. Everyone has profitability.
They're all amazing.
To come across a resume that someone says, under me, the sales have come down by 50%, or under me, that we lost all our money. No one puts that on your resume.
Yeah, totally.
My question is, all my questions are around, what kind of a person are you? Would you be a cultural fit? We know the company that we are trying to build. We have a no asshole policy, So if the people who do well in Icelandic are people who take the initiative, people who leadership is something, you don't need a designation for that. Do you have that in you to be a leader?
Yeah.
So then my question then comes about how do you work well as a team? And if you have played basketball, football, soccer, you really learn it's not the I, it's the we. You are as strong as your team over here. So you learn a lot of skills, especially with people who play team sports in college. You also have to be very competitive, I've yet to come across somebody who's passionate about sports who is not competitive. The relationship with the family is like you always say you can select your friends, you can't select your family. So you have to learn to adapt with various personalities in a family for the common good.
Mm,
So that's what Icelandic is about. This is my family. I spend
yeah,
more time with my colleagues
right.
than even at home.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
so that's what I'm trying to figure out from the person when I interview people is how are you going to fit in the culture that we are trying to create? Because it takes, when you're a small team and growing, it takes one bad apple. And trust me, we have made mistakes, but it takes one bad apple and it just affects the culture, the dynamic of the team.
Yeah. No, I love that, man. I love that. And I think, a lot of America CEOs and business owners are making that transition, but there's still a lot of people that just don't get it yet. So, it's all about that culture because you can teach them anything, like you said.
Yeah, it's the culture is something that it's very hard to replicate. And you have to be, as a leader, or anybody as a leader has to be crystal clear what of and live by that culture. It's just not something you put up on the wall or you just talk about. It's if you say that we are a family culture, every one of my team has my cell phone number, and I encourage people, if you have a problem, we are all here to help each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
So just pick up the phone and ask me. Don't worry about about anything else. And it's about when people make a mistake, we actually celebrate it because that person tried something different. If we encourage people to try something different, and we celebrate it, because if they have succeeded, the whole organization can learn from that. And if they fail, even that, the whole organization can learn from that.
I love that concept of celebrating a mistake. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. And so you were kind of talking before about how, the difference between a large company and a small company, you have to stay nimble, you have to stay fast. And this isn't necessarily a 9-to-5 job. But you also said before that's also creates a very stressful environment. And that you've taken some things and some actions with your company to make sure that your people stay balanced.
Yeah. So what I always, in my thing, I always, in my speaks, when I speak to my team, I always say wellness, just not physical, but even mental wellness is
It's
very
huge.
important.
Yeah.
I encourage the team to take all their vacations for the year. And even though that we are going at 100 miles an hour, I always tell the team, when you're on vacation, unless something is really urgent, no one needs to disturb you, because that's your personal time. You need that time to recharge yourself. And I try to do it by example. When I travel, when I go home to India,
Right.
I intentionally try to, unless it's an urgent meeting, I know you guys have this. I trust my team. I know you got it. There's a major decision. I'm always available on my phone, but I stopped getting on meetings on every meeting that I had to, because I wanted to send the messages. When you are on your vacation, that's your personal time.
Right.
It is your personal time.
Yeah.
We all work very hard. We work, it's not a 9-to-5 job, but when you want to spend time with your family, or you're on vacation, or whatever you do with your free, I even tell my team over the weekends, we have, unless there's something really urgent, which is very rare, the weekends is yours. I do not let people schedule meetings on the weekends. No conference calls. You want to talk to me about sports, you want to talk to me about the World Cup, we can talk the whole weekend, but we're not going to talk about work. So there's a lot of actions one can take to send that message across to people about looking after their mental health, and the physical. Everyone goes to the gym, but are you really looking after your mental health? Are you on that treadmill? There are times you got to stop and just relax.
Yeah. No, I love
So,
that, man. And it's
because
so,
I feel the same. I'll be honest, when I come back, when I'm recharged, I'm like, okay, come on, let's go.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it energizes yourself.
Absolutely. And it's so powerful that it's coming from you directly from the top. That message is and it is coming from the man at the top. I think it's fantastic. Um, so cool. So you actually when COVID hit, you had kind of alluded to it before that it was it definitely affected the business pretty quickly. You had said that it affected the hotel, that aspect of the business. Walk us through a little bit of that, because I think in our pre-call you talked about that was actually it was a pretty large hit to the company, very challenging time.
It was a very about 35% of our business uh, used to
Wow.
came from luxury hotels,
Yeah.
restaurants, airports.
Right. Right.
And when the world shut down in March, we lost that business overnight. We are a luxury, we are a premium bottled water and hotels,
35% of your business you pretty much lost
yeah,
overnight.
yeah, over 35%.
Wow. Wow.
And we had already built an e-com business through our Amazon that was very small, and suddenly Amazon went up. But it's incredible where our retail business offset a lot of the losses, and Amazon became over 20% of our business.
Mm.
And we worked, our team literally worked. We had Zoom, Teams, you name the calls, a lot of conference calls. We worked with our distribution partners from Anheuser-Busch. We were on it because their team was in stores executing. So it was a pretty interesting time for us, which there wasn't a playbook. The world had never seen anything like that. I
Sure.
have to commend our board and our founders where we didn't do any layoffs. We didn't lay anybody off. Everybody stayed
That's
on.
amazing, man.
We stayed on with their full benefits. And I really appreciated the support of the founders. The board said, you know what, this is way out of people's control. The best part is we grew.
Mm. Mm.
With all the stuff, and we did fun stuff, because everybody was stuck at home. So we had learning sessions, we
Yeah.
had talks, we had coffees together, we had
Yeah.
drinks together, we grew out our beards. So, and the team came out stronger, the business grew, and I'm so proud of our team, business partners from Anheuser-Busch. We all worked closely together and we grew.
Man, that's fantastic. Taking a company of your guys' size and removing literally overnight or within a month, whatever it is, 35% of your income, not having to lay off one person is such man, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. That's a company that I'd be so proud to stay with. And I'm sure everybody feels the same way. You have to be so proud of your team and your company to be able to pull that off. And I'm sure the founders are like, that's a tough situation. That's a tough situation, man.
And I have to say, it was a 2 minutes discussion. We discussed it with the board. We spoke to Jan and Christian, and the line literally at 2 minutes, it was like, we come back to this is our family.
This is our family.
When times are tough, you don't tell your family member, okay, you go.
You're out of the house.
You're out of the house. No, we stick it through, and again, I'm very appreciative of the support everyone gave us through that hard time.
So, okay, so when the rubber meets the road, sometimes you can't continue to pay someone if you just don't have the monies there. Did you guys have some assets and savings? Did you guys have, did you have some line of credits to be able to help you from a high level standpoint kind of absorb some of this?
So we had, like I said, we pivoted very fast. Our retail business grew.
Wow.
Amazon business grew. The board with the founders continue to invest and fund the company.
Okay. Yeah.
And we just moved a lot of things around.
Wow.
We pivoted
Yeah.
from this business to that
Right.
business.
Right.
So it
That
was
was
not
like the,
easy. I'm just overly simplifying it. It
yeah.
was not easy, but
Yeah.
we had
Yeah.
to then cut back inventories, because keep in mind, we had issues getting containers on the ships, because all the ships, the whole
Absolutely.
supply chain had issues. Our factory is in Iceland. The water is actually comes from a spring in Iceland. Iceland is it's an island, so
Right.
uh, anything happened in Europe, all our suppliers, it was a lot, very complex
Mm.
situation to manage through, but we overly communicated with each other. We were literally working the phones, Teams, Zooms, with our suppliers, with all our stakeholders,
It was
and
all hands on deck to make this pivot and get through this.
absolutely,
Yeah, it's fantastic. And that was the key word of 2020 is pivot, right? So
yeah.
so real quick, you mentioned obviously it's coming from Iceland. Are you guys shipping it over in bulk and then bottling here in the
Now,
States, or you do it all there?
everything is bottled on the source in Iceland.
That would make sense, right? Yeah.
In fact, the very first time the water has exposed to the external air is when you open the bottle. It's
Okay, so is it coming from glacier or from underground? Is it
it
glacier
is an
runoff type
underground
thing?
spring. It's an
The underground
underground
spring.
spring.
Yeah.
It's the one of the largest sustainable springs in Iceland. In fact, we only take out 0.1% of the water, literally goes into the bottle.
Yeah.
Everything goes into the ocean. So
Oh yeah, totally.
every time I land into Iceland airport, I look at the ocean and I say, so there goes my excess inventory.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it all
Gotcha.
just flows out.
So I used to be a vendor for in the water industry, and so I know I've been into a ton of different water plants all throughout the West Coast, and there's one up here towards the north, and they actually they use the same thing. It's very similar, but their water, it comes from glaciers, right? Very similar, or they say it does. But they were saying like their water was melted from the glacier like a long time ago, like a number of years ago. Is that the case with yours, or and if you don't know that
No, it takes about ours is about 5,000 years, because it gets
5,000 years?
no, it's over 5,000 years.
Yeah.
It gets the water flows from it goes through the mountain.
Yeah.
It gets filtered by the
Filtered,
lava
absolutely.
rock,
Yeah,
and that really makes our water naturally alkaline. We don't add in
that's right.
anything.
Love it.
So it infuses the water. The whole filtration process infuses the water with its natural alkalinity, and it goes into an underground spring, and that's where we
Yeah.
take it from.
And I just thought that stat was so interesting that the water was literally came from a glacier 5,000 years ago, and it just took that long to kind of permeate, filter, and you're drinking something that melted 5,000 years ago. That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, and it's really not. It's more through. I know our brand is Icelandic Glacial, but it's actually Iceland is a very volcanic country, so it literally gets the water goes. It hits the rocks, and and then that rock filters it and it goes down.
Right.
So we really don't come from a glacier.
Okay,
but,
gotcha.
But it's about we come from an underground spring. So
right. Yeah.
In fact, water should never be exposed to air, because you're then exposing to pollution and
Sure.
and all that stuff. Whereas with this, like I said, when the consumer opens the bottle for the first time,
right.
that is the very first time the water is exposed to external air.
That's fantastic, man. That's so cool. So hey, let me ask you, Reza. So if you were going to hire a CEO to take the reins for your company, what's the one book that you would require that he or she read before taking over for you, and why?
If I can say, there are actually two books, I would recommend. One is Shoe Dog, which from Hill Knight.
Okay. Yeah.
That is an experience on entrepreneurship. It's about how the highs and lows that we talked about that goes into building a company. And the other thing is the CEO Excellence. Highly recommend that book. It's authored by a bunch of McKinsey consultants where they have
Right.
looked at the best practices across all the most successful CEOs across the globe and really identified what makes them successful, which I thought was pretty interesting. Some of them is pretty basic stuff, but the
Sure.
other stuff is also like the softer skills. How do you manage boards? How do you manage, leading? What other people have done is they're leading by example, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. And
Yeah.
like I said, success, everyone has their own journey. But it was interesting to read about other people's journeys. And that's why I like reading about best practices.
Right.
I love autobiographies. That's why I love Shoe Dog, because people see the final outcome of Nike, but to understand when during
What
Phil
he was
Knight's
going
journey,
through. Yeah.
he didn't have money to put his windows in were broke. He didn't have money for the glass.
Right.
And they used to sit and huddle with sweaters and jackets in the cold.
Right.
So reading about other people's journey actually inspires you.
I couldn't agree more. In fact, I've gone through the book. I'm actually going through a back of it a bit now. But one of the things I thought is just to give an example of how tangible they got in that CEO Excellence books. They're talking about how, as you're scaling a company, how you actually can have lead cross-functional teams and the different ways to do it as a leader. I mean, nobody else talks about that kind of stuff, and so it's and they get really tangible on like, this is how many people you consider this, and when you get to this certain size, you have to consider this. So I thought it was a great book. So great recommendation.
And it also talks about the need before you go down. It talks about the need to really I come back to the importance of identifying what business are you in. If they were it talked about how many of the successful CEOs actually changed their business model and pivoted pretty fast, because they could see this is not sustainable. This will get you to a certain spot, but if you really had to go and really grow the company, it's important to see beyond on what your existing business is, and then you staff up. And then it talked about importance about even clarifying, even when you talk about cross-functional teams, it's about even how important it is to simplify organization structures. It talks about, people talk about matrix organization, but even within a matrix organization, it talks about the need to simplify.
You can have 6 different bosses in a matrix organization if it's not done right, and that doesn't work for anybody. In fact, she said their alternative and is hex versus So I've never been CEO of a company big enough to know about that, but hey, all good. Cool, man. So hey, great having you on the show. I'd like to take a few minutes to just summarize some of my key takeaways. One is about hiring, and I love the thing that you said there is looking for that sparkle in the eye. No asshole policy. A couple of things that you look for is their relationships with their family, and whether they were kind of the team sports versus individual sports. And then that's your number one role. That is your number one role, is making the right hiring decisions in the company. And then once you have them on board, making sure that you cultivate that culture, breeding that culture of very low ego, yet fun. There is no I, it's only we. I love the concept of celebrating mistakes. That helps build that culture of curiosity, culture of continuous improvement, and people are not afraid to take chances and take risks and to make the company better. And then another key takeaway is really mental health, really everything you can do as a leader and manager to help them really preserve themselves, not only physically, but mentally. So awesome, Reza. So let me ask you, if there was one takeaway that you would really want the audience to absorb from our time today, what would that be?
I think you hit the nail on the head. The one takeaway as a leadership is not about a designation or a title. It's about leading by example. What you talk about, if you don't do it yourself, it is just words. You have to live the talk, what you do. And as a leader, you are your biggest role and responsibility is to hire the right people into the right roles and allow them to thrive. If you are a micromanager, then why did you hire them?
Right.
Let people make their mistakes, and if that's the culture you want, so you got to be very clear in your mind. You got to be crystal clear is what kind of a culture do you want your company to be like. You got to and have all the stakeholders aligned around that, and then you make your hiring decision accordingly.
Love that. That's a great takeaway, man. Thank you for sharing. So, so Reza, if any of our listeners wanted to reach out and get a hold of you or Icelandic for any reason, what's the best way for them to do that?
On LinkedIn, I am over there. My email is reza.mirza@icelandicglacial.com. But the best way to get is connect with me on LinkedIn. I will send you a response.
Cool. Awesome. And we'll have your LinkedIn profile link in the podcast for anybody that is interested in that. So again, Reza, thanks for being on the show, man. It was great to have you.
And thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. So for our listeners out there, please hit the like and subscribe button. Be sure to opt into our email list if you're not on there yet, so you get notified of when new ones come out. But help us spread the word about what we're doing here. We're helping the up and coming leaders of the world do that much better of a job in their companies. And with that, we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.